The next content, capacity of the parties, or we use the term competent parties. Okay, capacity of the parties or competent parties, which means if you ask this as a question, who can enter into contracts? Who can enter into contracts? Is it okay? Who can enter into contracts? So here, capacity of the parties, or we call them as competent parties, which means who can enter into contracts. See, when we started defining the 10 essentials for a contract to be a valid one, we were discussing this very first essential. One party will be offering, called as the offer. That is, we'll have minimum two parties, right? So one party will be offering, whom will be calling as offerer, and another party will be accepting, called as acceptor. Okay. So now what happens is, who can be this offerer and who can be this acceptor? Because when we say it's a contract, it's nothing but we say it's a exchange of promises. It's not a void agreement, it's not a social agreement, it's legal in nature. So we are saying this is nothing but exchange of promises, which means here the offerer is going to offer, giving a promise, and the acceptor, even though he's accepting, he's going to give a promise. Okay, so it's exchange of promises. So in this sense, who has the capacity, or we'll call, or we'll be using this word called as capability or competency. So who is this person having capacity to enter into the contract? So this is the heading. Actually, we discussed this in three angles. So one, with respect to age capacity. Second, with respect to, even though the so and so person has the age capacity, he should be a sound minded person. Okay, he should be a sound minded person. And third case, where he is allowed to enter into contracts if he is being applicable for other laws. For example, company. Whether he is allowed to enter into contract, whether the company is allowed to enter into a contract. So we have to check other laws. Okay. So we'll discuss this in three angles. First one, age should be the capacity, which means he should have completed 18 years of age. Okay, very simple. A minor is not competent to enter into a contract. Only a major can enter into contract. Whom do you call as major? Who has completed 18 years of age. But in two cases, only on completing 21 years of age, he can enter into a contract. He will be still called as a major, because as per our Indian law, if anybody has completed 18 years of age, then we call that person as major, attain the age of majority. But in two cases from the Indian Contract Act, only if that person has completed 21 years of age, he will be called as a person who is competent to enter into a contract. Those two cases are, first case, there is a guardian appointed, and that guardian is registered as a guardian under Guardian and Wards Act. Okay, there is an act called as Guardian and Wards Act, and if that so and so person has a guardian, that guardian has registered as a guardian in the Guardian and Wards Act. Means yes. What do you mean by registering? Means that he'll be under proper control of the guardian. Okay, he'll be called as a certified guardian, not as local guardian. Local guardian means you just stay from your aunt's house or uncle's house or grandma, grandpa's along with them, and you're not staying with your parents, and they'll be just called as local guardians. But if there are some issues where the court appoints a guardian, okay, actually your parents will be called as legal guardian, because you are under their control. Okay, but when a court appoints a guardian, and if that guardian is called as a certified guardian, means he'll be following this act called as Guardian and Wards Act. Okay. In this case, that person will be attaining the age of majority at the age of 18 itself, but he will be having the capacity to enter into a contract only after completing 21 years of age. Okay, it's one case. Second case, if he has done any crime and he's not been punished and put it in jail, put it in prison, but he will be under the courts of law control. Okay, so he cannot take his own decision. In those cases, also he'll be called as having capacity to enter only at the age of 20. Okay, so first category is with respect to age. Even though a person has age as a capacity, he might not be in a situation to understand or take rational decision, which means he should be a sound-minded person, which means he should be having this rational thinking to make decision on his own. Why? Because when we say it's an agreement, very first 2 points. Remember, minimum two parties and consensus agreed. If I offer you something, you should be in a capacity to understand what I'm trying to offer. Okay. And obviously, consent should be free and genuine. I cannot compel you. I should not compel you. It should be of your own interest. You can accept the offer or you can offer. So, the sound-minded person are the three cases where they do not fall under sound-minded persons, which means the following three persons. One is lunatic. Okay. Second is idiots. And third one, drunkards. These three category of persons are will not be as rational thinkers, so they will not be allowed to enter as a party to the contract. They will not have the capacity. Whom do you call as lunatic means some mental strain is there. Okay, some mental strain is there. Not always. Okay, sometimes they will be normal also, sometimes abnormal. When they are in abnormal capacity, okay, when they are abnormal in situation, then those times they cannot enter into contract. But when they are normal means they can enter. Okay. Idiots always idiots only. Which means what? They have completely lost their capacity. Okay. Drunkards who are under the influence of drugs or alcohol. See, drunkards means just don't think தண்ணி அடிக்கிறான். No, not that way. Okay. Under the influence of drugs also. You are under some trauma, you are being influencing probably because of some accident or something. You have gone for some situation where you have to take the treatment. So under the influence of drugs, where you will not have the capacity to understand what's actually happening. And sometimes you will get these hallucinations and all because of the drugs. Probably if you have taken any normal drugs, over the counter drugs, you just go for the instructions and read, they'll give the side effects. If you feel any hallucinations, sometimes probably when I've seen these instructions where you feel some giddiness or your eyes are like burning sensations you get, okay, or you feel like shivering or something like that, you have to take immediate response for that. Okay. Likewise, some drugs have this effect if you get these hallucinations. Okay. What do you mean by hallucination? There's nothing there, and you feel that something is happening around you. There'll be nobody there. Okay. You feel like somebody is knocking the door. Okay. You feel like somebody is teaching law for you. Okay. Hallucination. Okay. So hallucination means you're not actually knowing this is the real situation or illusion like. So because of some drugs, you will be you'll not know whether this is a real situation or not. So you'll be in a state where you cannot take the rational decision. So in those situations also, see that's not always good. Okay, during the influence of drugs only you cannot decide. So under these three cases, a person will not be a sound-minded person. So these persons cannot enter into a market. Okay. Shall I take over? So this is the second case. So what's the first case is? You have to attain the age of majority. Even though you attain the age of majority, you should be a sound-minded person. Else, the third case, sometimes law says you are disqualified. Okay. For example, we have some five cases over here. I'll discuss that when I go inside the topic. Okay. We have five cases over here. One case I will go is when you enter contract with the companies. Okay. Where you follow Companies Act. What Companies Act says is, as per the Act, you have to follow first thing, and you have to follow your Memorandum of Association. So you know what is Memorandum of Association, MOA? So you have to follow the Act. Along with the Act, you have to follow the Memorandum of Association. After following all these things, if the Act and MOA allows you, then you can enter into a contract. If the act is not allowing you, or if the act is allowing you, your MOA is not allowing you. What is MOA? That will limit your scope of action. The object clause will limit your scope of action. So if the MOA is allowing you to do so, then it's okay, you can fine. Enter into a contract as a company, as one part. Okay. If it's not allowing, which means what? Law. This act is not allowing you to enter, so you're not capable. Sometimes act may be allowing, but MOA may not be allowing. You have to be very careful. So likewise, we'll go for other four cases, not now immediately. Okay. So what we are going to do in this topic is the first content over, the definition along with broader intro we have done. Then second, in case a minor enters into a contract, what happens? Please try to understand. See, we don't know that person is a minor, we have entered into a contract. So what's the state now? So nature. Okay, nature. Okay. Did you refer this case? Earlier, once I said this Mohiri baby case. Did you refer this case? Mohiri baby versus Dharmadar Bose. No idea. Okay, I'll just give a small gist. Actually, this is a landmark case in the case of minor not having competency to enter into a contract. So this is one minor. Okay, this minor owns a property. Owns a property means what? He has a property in his own name. Okay, he wants to borrow a loan and he mortgages his property. And how much he is borrowing? 20,000 rupees. This happens in 50s, 60s, some years long back. 20 for the loan for 20,000 rupees, he is mortgaging this property. Who's giving the loan here means not Mohiri Bibi. Mohiri Bibi has an agent and his name is some Dutt. Okay, Dutt. Okay, Dutt. While entering into this contract, see, borrowing loan and lending loan is a contract. Okay. While entering into this contract, this agent Dutt, on behalf of Mohiri Bibi, he is entering. This agent Dutt clearly knows that he is a minor. Who? Dharmadar Bose. And not only this happened, Dharmadar Bose's mother, which means whenever we talk about minor, we talk about the guardian. When we say mother, father, they become the legal guardian. See, by birth, their mother and father means they become the legal guardian. Okay, there's nothing to prove in this. So they become the legal guardian. She clearly, what she does is, she writes a note to that saying that I will not take the responsibility. He's still a minor. Okay. Even though knowing all this story, this agent, Mohiri Bibi's agent, gives a loan of 8,000 rupees. Actual loan is 20,000. But he, at that point of time, gives a loan of 8,000 rupees. And what this person does is, I'm a minor. Okay, he has falsely represented, but he says that I'm a minor, I cannot repay them. So Mohiri Bibi files a case of Dharmadar. This is a case. Okay. Actually, there's a twist in the case. What happens is, in between when the proceedings started, Mohiri Bibi passes away. Okay. So he was not alive. But the legal heirs will take over the case because it's about the loan amount. Automatically, it'll go for the sons and other persons. So the legal heir takes the case, and this is how it goes. So why we say this is a landmark case? Whenever a minor enters into a contract, the minor is in no way liable for the contract. Okay, which means he need not perform, even though he has falsely represented himself as what? Major. Okay, falsely representing himself as major. It's a false representation only. But in this case, it's very clear that mothers has what Ghost mother has said what she has given a legal, she has given a written consent saying that I'm not responsible for this. Okay, she has clearly stated that I'm not responsible for this. Okay, even though all the things are known by that, he's entering into the contract. Okay, so you cannot say this is false representation also. Okay, so if this is a situation, what happens? What is the nature of the contract? First of all, we cannot say this as a contract because he's not having this age capacity. Okay, which means we'll call this as void agreement or void contract. Void agreement or void contract. Void agreement or void contract. Void agreement. When you say it's a void contract, it was valid and subsequently it becomes void. Thank you, Bhavya. Everybody are nodding your head correctly. Okay, in a rhyming way. We say this is a void agreement because from the beginning, it is void. From the beginning, he is a minor only. When he becomes a major, he cannot execute this one. So the nature of the contract is you cannot execute it from the beginning itself. It is void, which we call it as void definition, which means it's a void agreement. Don't write it as void one. Okay. So this is what you call as a landmark case. So whenever we go for referring any person as a minor, falsely representing, or whatever happens, they enters into a contract, and directly what happens here is we conclude this referring this case, it's a void agreement. Even the court cannot lay any rules over the minor. So that's about this second heading, nature, which means in case minor has entered into this agreement, will not call this a contract, never. Okay. So minor in case has entered into any agreement, what would be the state? What would be the effect? So this is the next content. Shall we discuss? Yes, please. So we follow from single material. It's actually a very easy topic. Okay. Nothing to worry more about this. Uh, Capacity of the parties. We'll call it as competent party or capacity of the parties or capability. So you can please make a note of it. Capability. Who is capable? With respect to age of majority, sound-minded persons. Right? Third one. He is not disqualified from contracting by any law. Please highlight this word to which he is subject to. If I'm a company, I go and follow Indian Contract Act along with Companies Act. If I'm a partnership firm, I go and follow Indian Contract Act along with Partnership Act. Okay, differs. So any law is whichever is subject to me, whichever it is applicable for me, that will be applicable here along with Indian Contract. If I'm a normal individual, then Indian Contract alone will be applicable. I'm a normal individual, why? But I'm entering into a contract with X a company. Now what happens? Now what happens? I will be following normal Indian Contract Act. X company will be following Companies Act, but I am entering into a contract with a company, so I should know what is happening. Which means, probably if you know about this company's doctrine of ultra doctrine of constructive knowledge, this will be applicable for why now. Okay, so you cannot say just I'm an individual, I don't know anything about the company, so how can I know? I'm a normal layman. No, law says you have to know this. Because company is also a person, it's an artificial person. How the company take all the responsibilities. So it follows as per the law. Okay. Yes, age of majority. Whom do we call as minor? A person who has not completed 18 years of age. Usually will not use the term completed. Usually we go in this negative angle. Not completed 18 years of age only we say. Okay. He attains majority at the age of 21 when under two cases. First and second, where guardian has been appointed to a minor under the Act called as Guardian and Wards Act, and a minor is under the guardianship of the Court of Wards. So, if any person because of some crime he has been put in juvenile, so obviously juvenile receives the penalty. Okay, they will not be imprisoned. Okay, so in that case, it will be called as you are under the guardianship of Court of Wards. You are under their control. Okay. What happens if you enter into a contract with minors agreement? Actually, you'll find 17 points over here. I split this as two category. One is first 16 points in one category and last point in another category. First point, there is effect of minors agreement. If you have entered into a contract with a minor, one being an adult, one being a minor. So just think in this way. It can never be called as a contract. It will be called as an agreement. Okay. The nature of this agreement is void and inoperative. Please try to understand it's actually void ab initio, but we use it as void and inoperative. It's like together. Void and inoperative means put together is called as void ab initio. So you can please make a note of it here. Void ab initio. Void and inoperative. Okay. Example. A sold some articles of food to B on credit. Okay. Not knowing that B was a minor. The time fixed for payment expired and no payment was made. Sometimes later, when B attained majority, A sued him for the price. It's a void agreement, he will not succeed. Over. Simple. Shall I go to the second point? No ratification can be attained on attaining the age of majority. What do you mean by ratification? Actually, we have come across some few art terms. You remember? Art terms. Can you please help me out? What are those art terms we have discussed? One is repeal, right? Sale of goods related provisions are repealed from Indian Contract Act and we have it in Sale of Goods Act. Okay. Indian partnership provisions, that is running as a business as partnership firm, is repealed from Indian Contract Act and we have a separate act. What is Indian Partnership Act? So that's what we call as repealing. So moved away. Okay. Taken away or moved away, whatever you can take it away. Move out, moved away or whatever. Second term, we use this one, right? Remission in the last topic, consideration. Remission means lesser fulfillment. You remember? Lesser fulfillment. What are the other terms we have used? Almost I have discussed five terms, and today is a new term, ratification. Another one, revoking. In offer and acceptance, we have discussed. What do you mean by revocation? Taking it back. See, revocation of the offer, revocation of acceptance. Revoking means withdrawal or taking it back. You remember? Withdrawal or taking it back. Taking it back. What else for? Restitution. What do you mean by restitution? If a agreement or contract happens to be a void one, not agreement, contract, void or voidable, and if one party has received any benefits under this contract, okay, that benefits has to be returned. This follows from the principle of equity and natural justice. Okay, what is another one term? I don't remember. Can you please guide me here? Sixth one I'm going to discuss on ratification. Anything else? Rescinding. Rescind the contract. Rescind means what? Cancel the contract. Okay. So already we have discussed these five terms earlier. Now we'll go for the sixth term on ratification. Ratifying. What do you mean by ratifying means? I have authorized a person for doing some acts on behalf of me. In a simple term, I can use he's an agent. Okay, agent means he can do all the act and who will be liable for all the acts? The principal will be liable for all the acts. Okay. If that person has done some unauthorized action, it is up to the principal to decide whether the action can be taken, that is accepted or rejected. Okay, whether the action can be accepted or rejected. If the action is accepted, you call that as ratification. You call that as ratification. Let me go for an example. I'm constructing a building. Okay. After all the construction, I'm just not proceeding directly with the contractor. There is an agent on behalf of me. He's dealing everything. Okay. He's dealing everything. After the construction, we have some small materials where we cannot replace it, which means we cannot give it back to the seller, that is supplier, and we cannot get the money back. So, what my agent does here is he constructs a shed for dogs. Okay, I did not authorize it. The agent did it. What you feel as a dog owner, because you're the owner for dog. Okay, or what you will feel? You're going to shout at your agent. I did not give you the authority. Why you are constructing a shed for a dog? You are constructing a shed. You say this way, or you're going to praise your agent. You did a very good job. You constructed a shed for my dog, your dog home. So you're going to praise. It's up to the owner, right? Either you can praise it or you can. Okay. So what happens is this is something which is not authorized to the agent, but he has done it, which means what? It's a unauthorized action and you're accepting it, which means you're ratifying it. This is what you call as ratification. Okay, this is what you call as ratification. Now come for this here. We have taken note of this. So we'll be using these six R terms more often. We'll be using it now. So throughout Indian Contract Act, not only in Indian Contract Act, almost all the acts will be using all these terms. Okay. So let me go here. So this is the case where we cannot ratify on attaining majority. So you can take the earlier example also. Okay, once he has attained the age of majority, he cannot ratify. But what he can do is he can enter into fresh contracts. Let me go for this example. X, he's a minor, makes a promissory note in the name of Y. On attaining a majority, he cannot ratify it. And if he makes a new promissory note in place of the old one, here the new promissory note which he executed after attaining majority is also void because why? No consideration. Please make a reading of this example. Just give a reading. Please try to understand what is the situation here. Please try to understand the situation. So what happens? X had made a promissory note, but on attaining majority, he cannot ratify. Why? Why he cannot ratify? Because no ratification is possible. Why no ratification possible? Because there is no contract at all. So no ratification possible. And if he is trying to make a new promissory note in the place of old one means whether this new promissory note can now be executable? Still no, because there is no consideration for this contract. You cannot go and refer the earlier contract and say, see, at that time I bought some groceries from you and now I'm not going to uh, buy anything, but I'm paying for this. There's no consideration. Without consideration, you make anything. See, already we are done with the earlier topic. No consideration, no contract. Okay, second point. Shall I take over? See, even though first and second point is very strong enough, this is happening in the case or in the favor of a minor. Okay, which means if X is a minor and Y is a adult, in the point of the adult, the contract is not executable because it's void ab initio. No ratification also can be done. But in the case of or in the point of view of X, we say that this person being a promisee or beneficiary, yes, it is executable in the case of X. Okay. See, this is a contract or an agreement, means that's an exchange of promises. Y is giving a promise. Whom do you call as Y? Promiser. X is receiving the promise, we'll call it as promisee. Because we say that Y is giving a promise, who is getting benefits because of this promise? X is getting the benefits. So here X will be called as the promisee or beneficiary in the contract. So he can be a promisee or beneficiary in the contract, which means he has the complete rights to get the benefits. Let me go for the example. A, an adult, said to M, a minor, what he is saying? I will not pay the commission I promised you for selling the magazines. You are a minor and cannot enforce me to pay. Here, M is a beneficiary, he can enforce to pay. He can go to the court of law because he can be a promisee or beneficiary. Yes, you can please make a note of it. This is not a valid contract. Okay, but law says being a beneficiary, the other person, who is the other person here? A has to give the has to execute the promise. Okay, so this is the third point. This is somewhat totally different like fourth one already we have discussed this very earlier, right? This estate is liable for the necessary. So let me directly go for the example. Can you please go for the example? We have already discussed this earlier. I request you to go through, please. So M, a minor age 17, broke his right arm in a hockey game. He engaged a physician to set it. The physician have a valid claim for a service against the whom? Estate. Whom do we call as estate? Parents and property. Now I would like to go for this Mohini Bibi case. Remember this Mohini Bibi case? Here, mother becomes the legal guardian parent. So obviously, mother cannot be asked for this claim, right? So that's why what happened is mother gives a return notice saying that I'm not responsible for this. Please try to understand. Okay. Even though this person, this minor has a property on his own name, mother is there who's a legal guardian and she gives a clear note saying that I'm not responsible for this. He's a minor. Okay. So it says clearly that his estate is liable for what? For the necessaries only. Probably if you go through the case law, Mohini Bibi versus Dharmadagos, it will give a clear idea on why the loan was borrowed. Was not clearly stated why the loan was borrowed. It was just stated loan was borrowed for 20,000. Property is mortgaged and loan was borrowed. It was not said anywhere related to the necessities of this kind, of course. Fifth one, it can be an agent. When you go for referring this law of agency, it's a special contract, law of agency. It says that complete liability goes to the principal only. In case if any unauthorized actions are done by the agent, then agent will become agent has to take the personal liability. Else who will take the responsibility? Principal only. So here minor can be an agent. Okay, minor can be an agent. Sixth one, non-applicability of doctrine of restitution. You remember what you mean by restitution? It is a void in nature. Okay. And if you have received any benefits and that benefits has to be returned. Here it is not applicable because restitution is something actually it should be a contract first of all. But we are saying here it's void ab initio, which means not a contract, then how can you talk about restitution? Okay. Seventh one, he cannot be a partner because when we talk about the partnership firm, probably X, Y, and Z are here. The profit and loss goes for all the three persons. Okay. He cannot be a partner, but the Partnership Act, Indian Partnership Act, IPA, Indian Partnership Act says he can be admitted to the benefits of an already existing partnership with the consent of all the other parties. Three things. Let me come again. For what he can be admitted as a partner? For the benefits only, not for the loss. For the profit they can be sharing. Second thing, it should not be a creation of a new firm. It has to be a already created firm. Second, which means X and Y are already partners in a firm. And now X is trying to bring his son inside this firm business. It is because X and X son is so fine. Well, how about Y? Is Y interested to bring inside? Because he's going to take only the benefits alone, not the loss. So if it takes the benefit, it will be shared in 1:1:1 ratio. But what about the loss? Only 1:1 ratio with respect to X and Y, 50-50. Okay. So what happens is Y may be in a double-minded case where we can allow it or not, where we can admit or not. So that's why we need the consent of other partners also, all the other partners. So you have to check three cases. Actually, we are not following Indian Contract Act here. We are following Partnership Act. Okay. So this is the seventh. Let me go for the eighth point. In case if he has received any benefit under a void agreement, he cannot be asked to compensate or pay for it. This is nothing but similar to sixth point. You can please make a note of it. This is similar to sixth point. It's actually stated in the Bar Act. That's why I have included. Not only that, ninth point. If you go to the court of law, if you file a case, the court will can never, because the court doesn't have the authority. Because what Indian Contract Act says is it's the void ab initio case, which means there's no contract at all. If there is no contract, we cannot talk about the breach where you can go to the court of law. Like, if there is a contract, if there is a breach, you can go to the court of law. There is no contract at all. How can you go to the court of law? Even though you have gone, the court can never order for specific performance. This is the ninth point. Can you go for a minor falsely representing himself to be of age, which means what? He says himself that he has attained 18 years of age. Enters into an agreement to sell his property to R. Not only that, he receives from him a price of sum of 72,000 rupees in advance, as an advance amount he has received. Out of this sum, the minor purchases a car for 60,000. So 72,000 rupees as advance on the whole amount, and 60,000 he spends for purchasing a car and spends the rest on a pleasure trip. So he just spends it away. After the minor has attained majority, R sues him for the conveyance of the property. Or in the alternatives. For what? Either you give the property, now you have become the major, right? So you give the property or you refund the 72,000 rupees along with the damages. How would you decide? See, please try to understand whenever we go through a case, please try to break it into two paras. So we have done the foundation, right? Try to break it into two paras. Okay, which will give you the main content of the case along with its nature. So let me stop over here. I have drawn two lines. From this line, or from the very first two or three words, so you can clearly say what? This is a void ab initio case. This is a void ab initio case. You can clearly state it. Probably after the story goes like 72,000 is taken as the advance and he purchases car for this amount and reminding him. See, this is all describing the situation. Now there is a twist in the case. Actually, it's not a twist. They are trying to confuse you. By giving some additional data. What? He has attained majority. Now what? After attaining majority only, ask you for the conveyance of the property or give the refund of 70,000. This is actually to confuse you only. Whenever a minor is entering into a contract, even though he is falsely representing, which is referred from the landmark case, Mohini Bibi versus Dharmada goes, it will become a void application. It's going to never be a contract. Okay, so even though you file a case, you'll never win. But there's a small line you can expect here. The court may direct the minor to restore the car because of this 72,000 rupees, 60,000 is made tangible, right? Okay, he has bought this as a car. Remaining 12,000 he cannot expect because it's not spent for necessities. If this 12,000 was spent for necessities, this estate will be liable. It's not spent for necessities, so you cannot expect this 12,000. But what happens with the 60,000? It is now in tangible form where you can ask to restore the car. Okay, so it's a beautiful case. I request you to please make a note of it. I request you to highlight this word. Okay, please join here. I request you to highlight this word. The court never orders specific performance. Please highlight. The court never orders. It means what? The court itself has no authority to order. Okay, still the person, the minor can be a promisee or beneficiary. Is it okay? Shall I go for the next one? 10th point. Law of estoppel. Law of estoppel is an exception over here, which means even though he has falsely represented his age as he has attained majority, he can say still, he can plead minority and say that he is still a minor. Which means law of estoppel is something which will not be applicable. Again, if you go and refer Mohini Bibi case, this one will be clearly stated. You are representing yourself as false age. So what I think? You are 18 years of age. So I entered into this contract. So this has created a estoppel. This has created is what do you mean by estoppel? Circumstance was created in such a way that you are made to believe. Okay, so you are made to believe. So law of estoppel is it applicable for a minor? No, it's an exception for this. Can you please go for this example, please? Minor fraudulently represented to a money lender that he is of full age. It's the same Mohir Bibi case only, okay? And executed a mortgage deed of for actually here it is 10,000, but in the original case it will be 20,000, but only 8,000 is given. Has the money lender any right of action against the minor for the money lent for the damages for fraudulent misrepresentation? No. Along with this Dharmada Ghosh case, you can refer this one also. Okay. You can just close your eyes and write Mohiri Bibi case for a minor case. Minor is Mohiri. 11th, he cannot be adjudged insolvent because insolvent is the term associated with who has the promise or who has the liability to be performed, promise to be performed. But here, minus has no such case, so he cannot be adjudged insolvent. Okay. 12th one, negotiable instruments to bind all parties except himself. Okay. A minor is supplied with necessaries of life by a grocer. He makes out a promissory note in favor of the grocer. The minor is personally not liable. See, he's not liable, but he can make a promissory note, exert himself. Okay. 13th, minor cannot bind parent or guardian. It's a beautiful line, right? See, X and Y are parents of the minor M. Okay. If M is in need of money, especially for the necessaries, who will be liable? X and Y as parents will be liable. But the case here is this is the reverse. X and Y don't have money, but Y has some property, some assets. Y has gone for the singing competition, that competition, this competition, and he has got this prize award and he has got this property and all. Okay. If X and Y doesn't have the money, even for the necessities they have spent something, is M is liable? Law says no, even though M has the money. If anything is bought for M's necessary, then M's estate will be liable. But anything is bought for M's parents' necessaries, it will not be liable. Okay, so M cannot bind parent or guardian even for necessaries. Please highlight this point. Don't think logically, think legally. Okay. 14th, joint contract by minor and adult. Joint contract by minor and adult. If a contract is entered between three parties, party one is the minor, along with one party, there is an adult inside the contract. Both together have promised for something to another party B. A is an adult here, B is also an adult here. Okay. Whether this contract is valid? Yes, it's valid because M is not the sole party here. Along with M, there is an adult. But who will get the liability? Only the adult will get the liability. Okay. 15th, I'm not going to discuss now because we have to go for referring special contracts, contract of guarantee and contract of indemnity. So you can please make a note of it. 15th point, I'll discuss later. 16th, he can be a shareholder in a company. He can buy the shares through his guardian, but the company's access, it should be fully paid up shares. Else, company has a right to rescind the contract. What do you mean by rescinding? Cancelling the contract. Okay. So, as I said earlier, from the 17 points, 16 points are grouped as one, and remaining one is separately taken. Why means only in this point the minor gets the liability. When it happens that it is a tort. What do you mean by tort? Means it's a civil wrong. The definition for tort is a civil wrong. Okay, I'm not going to define what is a civil wrong and all because we have two types of wrong. One is criminal wrong and civil wrong. But here, tort is a special case. Like example, you're parking a vehicle in front of my gate. Okay, what I do is I have the rights to put your vehicle aside because it's my gate. Okay, I'm not saying it's my road. It's my gate, which is the passage for me to access the road. So you know this Constitution of India gives fundamental rights. We have the rights to access the road. See, if I'm constructing a building like this, okay, if I'm constructing a building like this, adjacent to my building, there's another building. Okay. But this person has a window over here. I cannot construct. See, that's why we have this rule. When you go for constructing a building, all the sides you have to leave this 3 feet or 5 feet gap. We have the right to get the right to access, right to get light, right to get air, right to get water. Everything is there. It's our right. Okay. So here, when you go for parking in front of the gate, it's my right to access this block. What I can do, I can keep your vehicle aside and move on. Okay. So this is one thought. I'm giving the examples, but I'm not giving the definition. I'm giving example. Another one is you're defaming a person's image. Defamation cases. Defaming a person's image. We can file a case. This is a thought. If anybody comes and knocks the door in the midnight or midday. Midday means like during the lunch hours, we usually call this as midday, midnight. Even the higher authorities, the police authorities or IT authorities, they cannot come and knock the door in between like some odd hours. They have some particular working hours. Only that time only they can do it. They should not do it in the odd hours. Okay, they don't have the rights. Okay. Defamation case, parking. So these are all covered as torts, civil wrong. Okay. It is a civil wrong. Then who will be liable? Means minor will be personally liable. See, minor is not personally liable for the necessaries also, but if it happens to be a civil wrong, a tort, then minor will get the personal liability. See the example. It's a beautiful example. A minor borrowed a horse for riding. Okay, he only was held liable when he lent the horse to one of his friends who jumped and killed the horse. Okay, who is liable? The minor himself is liable. So it's a tort. Jumping and killing the horse is a tort. Okay, it's a civil wrong. So there are some special cases where a contract is entered by a guardian on behalf of the minor. We cannot close the eyes and we can say that a guardian is liable. No, not all the cases are enforceable. It happens. It differs case to case. If it is an ordinary guardian, he has no power to bind in the purchase of immovable property because immovable property is such a case where he had the power of attorney and all. Okay, it's a serious case like. If it happens that guardian is a certified guardian, whom do you call as a certified guardian? Means the guardian is properly appointed by the court procedure and is appointed by the court. Then, because of the sanction of the court, where he is appointed as a guardian to sell the minor's property, then he get the right. So this is a special case. Can you please go through 17 points in together? So if you get this question, what are the effects of minors agreement? You have to listen. Second heading, first one, age is over. Along with the age, we have done with effect of minors agreement. Now we'll go for the second heading, persons or unsound minded. So these three persons usually will consider they have no capacity to enter into this contract. Those three persons are one, lunatic, two, idiots, three, drunken person, drunkards or intoxicated persons, which means they are under the influence of drugs. Okay. These persons don't have the capacity. But please try to remember when this person is a lunatic, what do you mean by lunatic? The mental parts are deranged of mental strain. They can be normal and they can be abnormal also, but during the state of abnormality, they cannot enter into contract. So if they are sound minded, they can enter into contract. Please place a star mark. If they are sound minded, they can enter into contract. Second category, idiots, incapable of thinking or taking rational judgments, so they can never enter into contract. Please make a note of the word never. Okay. Third category, drunken or intoxicated person. If they are under the influence of drinks or drugs, they cannot enter into the contract. So lunatic and drunkards are like specific category. They can enter or they cannot enter depending on the state of rational thinking. Okay. So these are persons of sound-minded persons. Please take a note of it. If you want, you can place any number of stars. Effect of agreement on unsound-minded person is same as that of the minor. See, we have done to the 17 points, right? Those 17 points are applicable in this case also. For lunatic, for idiots, and for drunkards. For all the three persons, it's applicable. All the 17 cases. Let us go for this example. It's a beautiful example. A supplies some articles of food to B. Okay. Who are the parties to the contract? A supplies some food to articles of food to B. Who is B here? See, there is a description given for B. She is the wife of C. Okay. Who is C here? Okay. Our Indian law says if no description is given about a person, okay, she is a lady, a married woman. If no description is given about the married woman, means she is completely relying on her husband. This is how our laws are defined. If this B is an engineer, which means what? She's not relying on husband. Please try to understand. She's a professional over there. If the B has any description like a doctor, an engineer, or a CA, or CMA, or CS, if any profession is defined, if a teacher, then we clearly say that B has an independent capacity. Here, if no descriptions are given, then automatically she is relying on her husband. And moreover, it's clearly given that B is the wife of C, and who's C here? Lunatic. Because no description is given for B, she is completely depending on C, and C being a lunatic, it's somewhat similar that A has entered into a contract with a lunatic, even though with B. Who has entered contract with whom? A with B. B is not a lunatic. B's husband is lunatic, but B is not described over here, so we consider here that B is lunatic. This is often repeated question in the exam because usually we'll not have this in our mind. We'll say that B is a normal person, B's husband only lunatic, so it's a valid contract. No. Not only applicable for lunatic, it's applicable for lunatic, idiots, and drunkards. C may be a lunatic, C may be a drunkard, or C may be a. Okay. So we have the 17 points applicable now. In the 17 points, I think third or fourth point says his estate is liable for the necessaries. Here is clearly mentioned it's something related to food necessary, and it's also mentioning that C has assets worth 5,000 rupees. So, in case if not paid, A can proceed against the assets of. Okay. So, in our Indian movies, most of the drunkards wife situation is described by this situation only. Okay. Is it okay? Shall I go for the next heading? Third heading, other persons, which means law disqualifies. So you can please make a note. Already we have in the earlier page, the very first beginning of the para itself, we have the very first page. You can please make a law disqualifies, which means you have to go and refer that law. Okay, law disqualifies. 5 cases: alien enemy, corporation, insolvent, convicts, foreign sovereigns, and foreign ambassadors. Whom do you call as alien enemy? The person who is in war with India. The person in the sense the country who is in war with India. If you have entered into a contract where they were alien friends, but while executing they have become enemy, means still the contract becomes void. Definitely you cannot say this is void ab initio, but it becomes void. So in case if there is earlier contract, you get suspended or dissolved. And there is one line stated an alien enemy cannot acquire any ownership interest in Indian shipping also. So probably you might be knowing this. Second, corporations. Probably if you refer for a company, they'll be following the Companies Act 2013 and also Memorandum of Association. Companies Act 2013 is meant for all the companies. MOA is meant for particular my company alone. So this MOA limits the action, limits the scope of the company. Okay, limits the action of the company. So it's limited by a statute. You follow that. Okay, which means law disqualifies depending on the applicability of the status. Insolvent. When a person is adjudged insolvent or adjudicated, so we have this term adjudged insolvent, adjudicated insolvent or not, his property will not be belonging to him. Instead, his property will be divisible among his creditors. So, if now this insolvent is giving a promise, how he can accept the liability? Because he has his whole liability which is now unable to solve position. Okay, so he cannot proceed. So, he doesn't have the capacity. Convicts, incapable when they are in prison, please highlight. If there is a case on you, okay, you'll be called as a convict, okay, accused, and the case has come to a verdict judgment, you'll be called as a convict. But if you haven't imprisoned, then you can enter into contract. If you are imprisoned, means you are under the court's control. Okay, so in this case, you cannot enter. Foreign sovereigns and foreign ambassadors, you can enter, but if you want to have a case on them, if you want to file a case on them, you have to get the central government's approval before that. Please try to understand when we talk about foreign sovereign or ambassador is not applicable for ex-kings because we don't have this kingdom rule and all now. So we are completely relying on this independent rule. So we don't have this ex-kings concept. So you cannot say that I'm this ex-king and you can take this. You cannot file a case on me. No, this is not possible here. Okay. You can enter through agents residing in India. You can enjoy certain privileges and immunities. Please highlight can sue the Indian citizen. They can sue us. Okay, but you cannot sue without the prior sanction of the central government. So if you are ex and Indian citizen, you're an individual. Okay, and there is a wife of foreign nation, probably UK, any nation out of India. If if there is a breach, not fulfillment of promise, then Y can file a case on X directly. If there is a breach done by Y, which means what? Will X get a right to file a case on Y? Law says it cannot be sued without the prior sanction of the center. So that's about this third heading where you have 5 subheadings along with this. Okay. So that's about this heading part.